Before you click away, stay with me for the next few seconds because what you are about to hear may shift the atmosphere of your home faster than you expect. This is not just another talk about money, struggle, or survival. This is about a spiritual pattern that many people have felt but could never explain. Have you ever noticed how some homes feel heavy no matter how hard people work inside them? Money comes in, then disappears. Plans begin, then collapse. Relief gets close, then somehow slips away again. If that has been your story, listen carefully, because there is an ancient psalm that has been spoken in homes during seasons of lack, fear, and pressure, and people have held onto it not as decoration, not as poetry for hard days, but as a living declaration. And today, I want to give it to you in a fresh way, in a clear way, in a way you can actually use. So do not rush this. Do not treat this like background noise. Stay until the end, because the last part matters more than the first, and one small step in this practice can change the way you walk through the next 24 hours. If this message is for you, you will feel it. And if it touches something deep in you, then that is not random. That is your moment to pay attention. There are seasons when a person does everything they know to do and still feels like nothing stays. You work, you plan, you stretch every dollar, you say no to extras. You try to be wise, and still the money seems to leak away through unseen cracks. A bill shows up, something breaks, a payment is delayed, a new need appears before the old one is solved, and after a while it begins to feel personal, almost like your house is fighting against peace. If you have ever felt that, I need you to hear this clearly. It does not mean you are lazy. It does not mean you are forgotten. It does not mean your future is closed. Sometimes the issue is not only what is happening in the visible world. Sometimes there is pressure in the unseen part of life, a blockage, a heaviness, a pattern that keeps provision from settling. In spiritual tradition, provision is more than money. It is flow. It is sustenance. It is the ability for what has been prepared for you to actually reach you. Think of a pipe filled with water. The source is not empty, but if something is blocking the pipe, you can stand there turning the handle and still get almost nothing. That is how many people live. The supply exists, but the channel is tight. And what I want to share with you is not a trick, not a performance, not empty hype. It is a way of speaking, seeing, and acting that opens your heart and your home to receive again. Stay with me, because this is where everything starts to turn. The psalm is Psalm 23. Yes, that one. And that is exactly why many people miss its force. They have heard it so many times that they no longer hear it at all. They hear it at funerals. They see it printed on cards. They remember the words, but not the weight of the words. Yet when this psalm is spoken with intention, it becomes more than comfort. It becomes a declaration over lack, fear, and instability. The opening line says everything. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Most people hear that and think it means a gentle feeling, a nice promise, a soft sentence to calm the mind. But in simple language it means this: because God leads me, lack does not get the final word in my life. It means shortage is not my ruler. It means I will not live under the power of constant emptiness. That line is not weak. It is not passive. It is a bold statement spoken in the face of pressure. And this is important, so do not miss it. When you read this psalm, do not read it like you are repeating old words with no fire in them. Read it like you are making a claim over your home. Read it like you are pushing back against every pattern that has tried to make lack feel normal. Read it out loud. Let your ears hear what your mouth is saying. Because sometimes the first person who needs to hear faith in the room is you. And once that sound fills your space, something in the atmosphere begins to shift. The practice is simple, but the spirit behind it matters. Wake before sunrise if you can. Stand somewhere in your home where you can be still for a few minutes. It can be your kitchen, your bedroom, your living room, anywhere that feels quiet enough for you to focus. Then read Psalm 23 slowly, out loud, with calm strength. Not rushed, not half awake. Not as if you are trying to finish a task. Speak it as a person who means what they are saying. The early hour matters because the last stretch of darkness has a different feel to it. The world is quieter. The distractions are fewer. Your heart can hear better. And when you speak in that moment, it is as if you are setting the tone for the whole day before noise gets a chance to enter. Some people say they felt a shift the very first morning. Not always money in the hand that second, but peace in the chest, lightness in the room, a strange sense that the pressure was not sitting on them the same way anymore. And that matters. Do not brush past that, because sometimes the first miracle is not money arriving. Sometimes the first miracle is fear loosening its grip. Sometimes the first sign is that you can finally breathe, and once peace enters, clarity follows. When clarity follows, choices improve. When choices improve, doors begin to show up that you could not even see while panic was in control. Keep listening, because one verse inside this psalm carries a deeper key, and most people read right past it without knowing what they are skipping. The verse says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Slow down on that line. Most people think it only means protection from difficult people. But there is more in it than that. Sometimes your greatest enemy is not a person. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is shame. Sometimes it is the voice that keeps saying you missed your chance, you do not deserve better, you will always struggle, things never work for you. Sometimes the enemy is the pressure that sits in the room and tells you to expect less, dream smaller, and live with constant tension. Yet the psalm does not say the table appears after every enemy disappears. It says the table is prepared in their presence. That means provision can come while the pressure is still watching. Peace can enter while the problem is still there. Help can arrive before every question is answered. Opportunity can open while the old voice is still trying to scare you. This is powerful because it means you do not have to wait for perfect conditions before believing that God can move in your life. When you reach that verse, pause for a moment. Picture a table set in your home, not just with food, but with what your life needs. Stability, open doors, wise ideas, favor, help from the right people. Enough to meet the need, enough to breathe again, enough to stop living in survival mode. And say it with conviction. What has been prepared for me will not be stolen by fear, delay, or opposition. That line alone can change the way you stand in your own house. And if you are still here, stay with me, because the next part completes the pattern. There is another truth people often overlook, and without it the whole practice stays incomplete. Flow increases when there is an opening, and one of the clearest ways to create that opening is through giving. Not giving after everything is comfortable. Not giving only when it feels easy. Giving as an act of trust. Even something small. Even something quiet. Even something no one else sees. Before you go to sleep the night before you begin, set aside a coin, a bill, or any amount you can give the next day to someone in need, to a struggling person, or to a sincere cause. The amount is not the point. The heart is the point. This act says, I will not let fear close my hand. I will not let lack turn me hard. I am making room for flow. Then when you read the psalm in the morning and come to the line, my cup runs over, touch what you set aside and speak this truth. My life is not closed, my hand is not closed, and my cup is not meant to stop at barely enough. That overflowing cup is not just about excess. It is about movement. It is about blessing that does not die the moment it reaches you. It keeps moving. It touches others. It carries life beyond your own need. And that is why this matters so much. A closed heart cannot receive deeply. A clenched spirit struggles to trust. But when you give, even in a small way, you are telling your own soul that fear will not be your master. You are choosing flow over panic, trust over scarcity, and action over despair. That changes more than you think. And yes, keep listening, because now all three parts are about to come together. So here is the full rhythm in a clear and simple way. At night, set something aside to give. Do it with intention. Say to yourself that you are making room for peace, provision, and open flow. Then before sunrise, stand in your home and read Psalm 23 out loud from beginning to end. When you say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," pause and declare in simple words that lack has no right to rule your home. When you say, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies," pause again and picture that table with everything needed for this season of your life. Do not make the image small. See it clearly. See room, rest, help, ideas, favor, and enough. Then when you say, "My cup runs over," touch the gift you prepared and remind yourself that overflow grows in a life that trusts enough to give. Finally, when you reach the last verse, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life," speak it like a person who expects mercy to move with them into the day ahead. Not behind you, with you, not as a wish, as a covering. This is not about trying to control heaven with perfect words. It is about agreement. It is about speaking life instead of repeating fear. It is about lining up your mouth, your mind, and your actions in one direction. And when that alignment happens, many people notice something shift faster than they expected. Maybe a phone call comes. Maybe an overdue answer appears. Maybe tension breaks. Maybe wisdom arrives for the exact next step you need. Sometimes change enters quietly first, then visibly after. What makes this practice powerful is that it engages more than one part of you at once. First, it uses words. Words shape atmosphere. The things spoken over a home matter. A house filled with constant fear, hopeless talk, and defeat starts to feel heavy. But when truth is spoken out loud, that heaviness begins to lose its place. Second, it uses vision. What fills your mind affects how you live. If your thoughts are chained to lack every hour of the day, then even new opportunities can pass by because your spirit has been trained to expect loss. But when you begin to hold a different picture inside, when you see the table prepared, when you believe there can be enough, your posture changes. You listen differently. You act differently. You recognize doors that fear would have made you miss. Third, it uses action. Setting something aside to give turns the whole thing from a speech into a step. It says your faith is not just noise in the air. It has movement. It has hands. It has proof. That is why the pattern is so strong. Words, vision, action. Speak it. See it. Do it. Simple. Clear. Alive. And let me say this because somebody needs to hear it. Do not measure the power of this by how dramatic it looks in the moment. Some of the biggest changes begin quietly. A heavy room becomes lighter, a restless heart becomes calmer, a stuck mind becomes clear, a delayed path begins to open. Do not despise small beginnings. Sometimes the turning point does not shout. Sometimes it arrives like dawn, slowly, then all at once. And while you do this, guard your heart from two mistakes. The first is reading the psalm like a formula with no faith in it. The second is expecting change while keeping every old habit of fear, doubt, and defeat fully alive. If you spend the morning declaring peace and the rest of the day feeding panic with every word, every thought, and every conversation, you will feel torn inside. So let the prayer shape the day. After you read, carry yourself differently. Watch your mouth. Refuse to keep saying nothing ever works, I will always be stuck, there is never enough, my house is cursed, my life is closed. Those words build darkness faster than people realize. Replace them with cleaner language. Say, I am being led. I am being helped. My home is not abandoned. What is meant for me can reach me. There is a table prepared. There is a way forward. There is mercy in this day. That does not mean pretending problems are not real. It means refusing to crown them as final. Also, be alert to what enters your home. Constant chaos, constant arguing, constant hopeless talk, constant negativity can keep a place spiritually heavy. Protect the room. Practice. Protect the sound. Protect the early hours. Protect your peace. Even after you finish reading, do not rush back into noise if you can help it. Give the words a moment to settle. Let them sink deeper than your emotions. Let them become part of the way you think. Because this is not just about one reading, it is about resetting the spiritual tone of your environment and refusing to keep partnering with the weight that has tried to sit there for too long. And now let me bring it all together in the simplest way possible. If you have felt pressure in your finances, pressure in your home, pressure in your mind, then begin tonight. Set something aside to give. Wake before sunrise. Stand on your feet. Read Psalm 23 out loud slowly. At the first verse, reject lack. At the verse about the table, see provision. At the verse about the overflowing cup, choose generosity and trust. At the final verse, receive goodness and mercy as companions for the day ahead. Then move through the day expecting alignment, clarity, favor, and open flow. Not fantasy, not empty hype. Just steady expectation rooted in faith. And remember this, because this may be the line that stays with you the longest. Your home does not have to remain under the feeling it has been carrying. The atmosphere can change. The heaviness can lift. The pattern can break. What has felt blocked can begin to move. What has felt delayed can begin to open. What has felt dry can begin to flow again. So do not let this be one more message you hear and forget. Act on it. Try it with sincerity. Stay consistent. And watch closely over the next 24 hours, not only for money, but for movement, for peace, for signs, for answers, for shifts you almost would have missed if you were not paying attention. Because when the atmosphere changes, many things change with it. And if you feel this in your spirit right now, then take that seriously. This may be the moment your house stops agreeing with lack and starts agreeing with overflow.